Hey guys, welcome to the channel, and my name is Peter. On this channel, I focus on high-end luxury simple photography. I'll explain that in just a little bit. Why is it luxury and why is it simple? Now, in my hands here, I have a Hasselblad X2D camera. This is a medium format camera, and I have a Leica Q3 28mm. Now, why luxury? Because these are really expensive cameras. In Singapore, this is closing in on $10,000, and this version that I have in my hands is actually the Earth Explorer X2D limited edition, and it comes coupled with a 55mm V lens, which is not mounted on right here, and the combination costs about 22,000 Singapore dollars. So that's the luxury part. And the simple part, well, these cameras are really easy to use. They are focused on getting pictures and video. For the Q3, the Hasselblad X2D cannot capture video, but they are very simple to use, a very easy to navigate kind of menu system. And the same is true on both the Leica Q3 as well as the Hasselblad. Now, if you know what a Hasselblad is and what it stands for in the camera world, then you will most definitely know about the Leica. But if you know Leica, you may not necessarily know about the Hasselblad, right? Now, we all know that Leica stands at the pinnacle of photography cameras, right? Sports optics, watches, even projectors, they do that, right? And Leica is definitely a luxury brand, but the Hasselblad unashamedly sits above and beyond all of these. Now, before I go on, special shout out to James Kelvin, who has left the first ever comment on this channel. Now, this is a new channel. I haven't gotten much videos up. I'm planning to do a lot more, and this focuses on one of my hobby, which is photography. In my other channel, under Peter P, I will link the video link right here. You can check out the channel. I focus on wireless audio product. So thanks, James Kelvin. You are now going down in history by leaving the first ever comment on this new channel. You have been immortalized. Thank you. So recently, I've had 3 friends who are semi-interested in photography, dabbled with it over the years, over different systems, right? They have the money to spend on cameras. Well, I do know that they have the money. And now they're all lusting over the Leica Q3, right? Which is what I'm holding in my hands here. So until they heard about the Hasselblad from me, right? So they know that I have both of these cameras and they're asking me which to get. So on my other YouTube channel, which I mentioned about, I actually put up a poll asking my viewers, those who know, which camera I should get. So I've had about 300 responses on that poll, and 60% says keep the Leica Q3, 40% says keep the Hasselblad. Now that is 1.5 times more respondents. So about 200 saying that we should keep the Leica Q3 and another 100 saying that we should keep the Hasselblad. Unfortunately, I still have both because they serve very different purposes and they are actually attractive to me in many different ways. But most people won't buy both systems. And most people will definitely not be comparing the Leica Q3 and the Hasselblad X2D system together head to head, as they are of a completely different price bracket and different use cases, right? But the objective of my 3 friends using either of these cameras are going to be the same. They want to capture beautiful images of their life, of their family, of their friends, and on their travels. So let's take a look at what the Q3 is and what the Hasselblad X2D system is, and try to figure out which is the correct system for these 3 friends to buy into. Now, I need to tell you a little bit more about my 3 imaginary friends, right? So hypothetically, let's say their names are Luke, Kelvin, and Lindsay, right? Not their real names to protect their identity. Now, potentially, they have all exhausted means of spending their money. They have their houses sorted out. They have flashy cars and bikes, many bikes. And they have bought some great camera systems from mainstream brands in the past, Canon, Sony, Fujifilm. For the rest of the video, we're gonna have to assume that money is not a concern, because if money is a concern and if there's a cap on the budget, then of course you go for the Leica Q3 because it will automatically win based on the $9,000 sticker price on the Leica Q3, as opposed to the at least $15,000 for the body and the lens setup that you're gonna get for the X2D. All right, first let's go on to Luke. Luke is a family man. He has youngish kids who are turning into teenagers soon, and he's a careful spender. Well, I'm not saying that he doesn't have money, he is just a careful spender. Now, he doesn't need super quick autofocus anymore because the kids are already well, old enough not to be that dirty. Now, preferably, it still needs to be quick enough to capture the moment, right? He has experience with the Fujifilm X100 Mark VI, and that was a camera that I have recommended to him before because he wanted something that doesn't need interchangeable lens, so he doesn't have to think about it, and that is actually a good approach to photography. So he's used to the X100 Mark VI, and if he's used to that speed, he will be right at home with the Q3. Now the Q3 is a full frame camera, and it uses a 28mm lens f1.7 coupled with the body. So this is a macro capable lens, a Summilux lens. So you can't change the lens on this, and he is definitely right at home with that because he doesn't want to change the lens. He doesn't want to have to think about the lenses that he's going to be bringing on a trip or bringing along with him. So he's got his priority right. So for Luke, I would say that the Q3 it is. And we have to bear in mind one thing, the Leica, this Q3 here, it shoots video, which is important for kids, for family with kids, right? This Hasselblad X2D here has zero video capabilities. Nothing. You can't even get HDMI out. There's no mic input at all. This has nothing. It's just a pure photography focused camera. Not useful for capturing videos. Well, you can't capture videos. What am I talking about? Okay, let's move on to the next imaginary friend that I have, Kelvin. So Kelvin is a family man. Now you see where this is going, right? Now he has young kids similar to Luke, right? Kelvin has no cap on his budget. He wants a Leica, right? Full stop. He wants a Leica. Now, even considering the M11, now of course the M11P Black Paint Edition is the coolest thing in Leica's stable right now. There's also the newly launched Leica SL3S, but I cannot quite recommend that camera because of the size, right, of that mirrorless DSLR. You're gonna have no lack of choices when it comes to mirrorless DSLR from the mainstream brands like Sony, Nikon, and Canon, right? But you are going to be spending a lot more on the SL3S. But if you wanted a Leica, right, there's nothing that feels like a Leica, and that is where you're going to be spending twice the amount of money for. Now, do I want the Leica SL3S? Yeah, potentially I want that. It has video out. I'm now currently filming on a Sony FX3, which is a video-centric camera. I wish I could film on the Leica. Oh well, talk about that. The Leica Q3, it has 8K video recording capabilities, except that I think it overheats at about a 20-minute mark, so probably not ideal unless I set the room temperature to a lot lower and maybe blow a fan at it. But it's just not that great for video. But it does do video in a pinch and at 8K 30 frames, no less. So the Q3 is compact in size. It's a rangefinder format, which is very similar to the M11P. So if Kelvin were to get the M11P, it will end up having to pair it with another lens, and to get to the same image quality as the Leica Q3, he's going to have to pair it with a 28mm Summilux, and that will be a f1.4, and by that time he would have touched the $15,000-$16,000 mark. Well, I suspect actually quite a bit more. So the best value for money for Kelvin will definitely be the Q3. Now, on questioning, if you want to get the SL3, then the Panasonic S5 II is probably something that is very similar at half the price. But of course, it is no Leica. Now, Kelvin currently also has a Fujifilm X100 VI, and he also has a Fujifilm X-T5. So I asked him the question, which camera do you use more, the interchangeable one or the fixed lens one? And he said, well, he's using the Fujifilm X100 Mark VI a lot more. So there you go. The Leica Q3 is definitely the right way to go. Now, because Kelvin doesn't seem to have a cap to the budget, the Hasselblad might then be the one to get for him. Why? Because the picture quality is just outstanding, earth-shattering, mind-bending photo quality out of the 100 megapixel medium format sensor. But let's be real here. The camera system, together with some of the lenses, I've got a couple of lenses around, all the way from the 28mm to the 55 to the 75 to the 90mm, that is going to cost close to $40,000 in Singapore. And because he is relatively amateurish in his photographic journey, I cannot in good conscience recommend him the Hasselblad because he travels a lot. And if he wants to document his family's experience, then the Leica Q3, this is the only thing you'll be carrying along. So I would say that that is the right choice for Kelvin. So go for the Q3. Now my third imaginary friend is Lindsay. Now Lindsay is also a family man, right? So if you are like Luke, or if you are like Kelvin, or if you are like Lindsay, leave a comment down below and tell me what you think, which of these cameras is likely to be suitable for any of these three fictitious characters. Now, Lindsay has teenage kids and none of them are fast or dirty enough to require super quick autofocus. They will pose if you tell these kids to pose, right? So Lindsay spends on things that he loves and potentially he has severe gear acquisition syndrome. Now the moment he gets into the system, he might not stop buying lenses if there's an option for him. So I want to take away that option from him. So the Q3 is a full frame system, 28mm fixed lens. No way you can add any more. Well, you can add the shutter button, shutter release button, you can add a thumb grip, you can add a couple of accessories, but none of them are going to cost a couple of $1,000s like if you are going to buy lenses for the X2D or even the interchangeable lens system in the Leica stable. But the problem is, Lindsay has familiarity with full frame lenses, so he appreciates what full frame can do for him over the APS-C smaller format sensors. But the danger is that if he knows what full frame is as opposed to crop APS-C sensors, then he will be tempted by the Hasselblad, because the medium format, he will then appreciate that there is a significant difference moving from full frame to medium format. Now, I want to recommend the Q3 to him so that he be contented with a simple setup and just pick up and go. But knowing him, he might just spring for the Hasselblad at some point in time in the future after buying the Leica Q3. So for him, I will recommend both. Spend and enjoy both of them starting from today. Now, my advice to any of these three fictitious characters is don't carry equipment, right? Just seek experiences, be in the moment, enjoy the experience with your family. Don't spend the time setting up the tripod, figuring out the settings. Now, once you use the Leica or the Hasselblad system, you will understand why they are cameras first and not tech gadgets. The priority is on the experience and the ease of shooting on and setting up the camera, right? Every other mainstream camera out there has pages and pages and sub-pages of menu with multiple levels and settings, which completely detracts from the shoot. Now, I have a range of Sony cameras and Fujifilm cameras, and I used to own Canon cameras. All of them, I would say I don't even touch 85% of the settings. Now, what are the three settings that you primarily want to be able to change? It is your exposure triangle, your ISO, your shutter speed, as well as your aperture. And all these three are easily within reach on either of this camera. So whichever camera you choose, you got to just press the shutter. The camera that you can whip out and shoot within 2 seconds, that's the one that you need to get. Now, specs wise, sure, Canon, Sony, Fujifilm, Nikon, all of them, they are better specs. They will actually serve the purpose. But which of those cameras will inspire you to bring them along on your trips, on every single outing, every time you step out of the room, step out of the hotel, right? So if you're like any of the three fictitious characters that I've mentioned above, I'll definitely recommend the Leica Q3 for you. Why not the Hasselblad? Well, my answer would be just to say that let's just start with the Leica Q3 first. We can talk about the Hasselblad in another video. Do you need a Leica? Do you need a Hasselblad? Absolutely not. But will they inspire you to think, to compose, and to shoot better pictures? 100%. So, Luke, Kelvin, Lindsay, I'll see you in the Leica store.